conversation.
Yeah. So Rob says he's delayed. He's in another meeting, so he'll join us when he can. So let's call this meeting to order at 1:04 p.m. And let me start out by acknowledging our new borough manager, Samantha Bryant. This is her first public meeting, I think. So thanks for being here. And then first item on our agenda is the minutes. Michelle, any comment on the minutes? Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did. No, they were fine.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have notes. that was the one I was on my phone, and
all right.
I'll take some notes for this, and I'll just share them with you.
I appreciate that. Okay. Now I actually have to look. I think our next item of business is an update on current projects. So the question is, who is going to be who can provide us with this update? So I don't know if we should talk about our sense of where these projects are. Chris, you're here from Pannoni, right?
No, I'm a neighbor.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm mistaken. I'm mistaking you for somebody else who thought would be here. My apologies.
No worries.
Right. So I guess maybe we should share our sense of where the current projects are standing, and then Samantha can jump in if she has more information or more questions. Does that sound good? Ordinarily, this is something that the borough manager or the engineer would be taking the lead here, but a borough engineer is on vacation. So, all right. So we currently have 2 EV charging stations that are installed, and they are wired up, and they are basically ready to go. I think we need to get information on how to deal with the payments or what. Yeah. I think basically it's understanding how the borough is going to use them is the key point. They are ready to go. The next step is on our end to figure out the system. So I'd be excited to see those go. We have a road paving project coming up probably fairly soon on Dudley. It's going to be 3 blocks of Dudley. And it's going to start with ADA ramps, ADA compliant ramps being installed at the street corners. And then it's going to be a road work to smooth out, clean up the road. And I don't think we have a start date on that yet. It's been contracted for. We've accepted a bid, but I don't think we have an actual start date for that. It should be soon. We have street lights that are due to be replaced with LEDs. And that project also has been delayed due to the pandemic. It's another thing where we approved this, I don't even know when, 2019. And we're still waiting to hear from the installer as to when they're going to come by. I think the last word was that once it actually started, it would be done very quickly, like in a matter of a day or two. But we don't know when that is. This is a project that potentially can save the borough thousands of dollars a month once it actually happens. So it would be good to have
If I may for just a minute, Fred.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll definitely be one of the things I'm gonna quickly want to follow up on because I've dealt with that in other municipalities, and you're absolutely right. Not only is it good for the environment, but it's good for the budget of the municipality.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, we've paid for this, so it's really just a matter of having the installer show up and take care of business. But everybody who signed on, this was a project done by is this DVRPC? I don't know. It was a larger authority that we signed up with.
Yeah.
A whole ton of
the regional streetlight procurement program. Yeah.
So
Mhm. I don't remember do you remember the name of the company that was sort of like was overseeing this, and he made the presentation? Oh, I do not remember their name.
Was
But
it
we have that
Johnson
presentation
Controls
somewhere.
by any chance?
No, I think it started with a P. Was it Plymouth, Pilgrim? I'll look it up.
and then the other sort of project that we have hanging fire is the storm sewer work on Haverford Avenue near the tunnel.
I do have an update on that one. So yesterday I got paperwork from our engineer's office about doing some submission to DEP that we'll need for that project because an outfall is being adjusted. So I did review and sign off on that paperwork so our engineer can get that over to DEP. And I'll work with Eric to try and figure out what an actual start date would be on the project.
Okay. So those are, I think, the projects that we have sort of all set and waiting to be, well, I mean, that project may not be all set, but the other ones I think are all set and just waiting for, different levels of borough attention or waiting for a contractor to show up. So I think those are our kind of oversight priorities. Michelle, am I missing anything? Or big projects?
I mean, unless we have anything that we know about where we are with the bridge, I don't know if Samantha, if you had any kind of a briefing, or if there's anything to report at all.
Yeah, so we're all sorry. Let me jump in for a sec. We're the bridge, I think, is another priority item that really, takes precedence over things that aren't day-to-day oversight. I mean, we need to make sure that the bridge, the construction gets started as soon as possible. So let me echo Michelle's concerns.
Yeah, and I definitely agree from the conversations I've had so far with members of the council and the members of the community I've had a chance to meet and talk with so far. I absolutely agree, Fred, that the bridge is a really important project. To Michelle's original question, since this is my official second day of the borough, I do not have an update on the bridge other than to say that I have been reading over the files that Matt and Sean left for me with the bridge. And so I hope to get started on that very, very soon.
Yeah, I think it would be good to plan to have sort of regular updates on the bridge. I don't know, like whether infrastructure is the right place for it or at the full council meetings, but say once a month to be letting us know what's new, if there's anything we can do to expedite the process and just remind everybody who's watching these meetings that it is a priority and we are working on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree.
All right, Samantha, do you have any other comments about these kind of pending projects or anything that you'd like to add at this point? Or
not today. You caught me at an interesting time with the borough, but I do promise going forward you'll be hearing a lot more from me at these meetings.
Okay, great. Yeah, usually this flows from other people to us, not from us to other people, so it's a little awkward, but just to keep everybody apprised. Where are we? Sorry, I've lost track of our agenda. I think our next item is going to be the presentation from the cycling club. However, if anybody's got the agenda in front of them and wants to throw something else out, otherwise.
I do. I don't. Just put potential action items, which I don't. For next borough meeting, I don't think we have any. I think we're going to ease into things as we get I guess Samantha gets her feet on the ground. So let's. That's all. There's just the cycling club after that. Hey, Rob.
Hi, everybody. Sorry to be late.
Okay. Yeah, I was just doing a rundown of sort of current projects that we're working on, and I think we're going to move to having Kimberly and Jean talk to us on behalf of the cycling club.
All right, Kimberly, you are the host now, so you can share your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I will say my internet gets kind of cranky with screen share. So if I cut out, apologies. Just a little warning there. All right. Oh. Here we go. Okay, everyone can see, right? Okay, everyone can see my screen share, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so today we really appreciate the opportunity to come to Infrastructure Committee and talk about bicycling in our area. We had the opportunity to come about 4 years ago when this committee was known as Public Works and chaired by Cindy Rickards. And we gave an update at that time. Narver Cycling Club was pretty new to the scene and kind of jumping into some advocacy. But when Jean and I were planning this presentation, it was really cool to go back and look at that old presentation and see some progress. So we're excited to take a minute to review the regional and local picture around bicycling, reflect on our progress that we've made over the past few years, and then offer a few suggestions about next steps for Narver. So talking a little bit about the local and regional snapshot, we've kind of broken it up into, over here on the left, everything happening outside of Narver, and then what's locally happening inside the borough. So you'll see the Mainline Greenway kind of, crossing into both categories. We're going to talk a lot about the Greenway further on because it's, about to be hot off the press, and it's a really exciting project. But first, let's touch on a few regional things and then dive into some local stuff. So one big thing that has been the emphasis regionally is what's called the Circuit Trails Network. So they have this vision for, by 2025, to have 500 miles at our fingertips. So for us, what we think of as the Kenwood Heritage Trail is actually this teeny segment of the Circuit Trails Network. But actually, if you just get a mile to the Circuit Trails, one day you're going to potentially have access to 750 plus miles of continuous trail. So that's to say, the big picture there is that in 2017, the Narver Cycling Club went to council with the idea of signing on a resolution to just show support for the Circuit Trails vision. So since 2017, we've been a part of that. That I think it's 300 and something municipalities in the 9-county Greater Philly region that are supporting this regional project. Bike Monaco is another really big plan that we should highlight. So Bike Monaco was adopted in 2018. The county really recognized that it was time to get with the times, and the initial surveying that they did to figure out who the riders are of Montgomery County, it revealed that only about 15% of folks in Montgomery County currently feel comfortable getting on a bike with like the zero to limited infrastructure that we currently have in the county. And another way of thinking about that is if you look at the red and orange, there's about a 77% what's called untapped potential for bicycling in Montgomery County. So the plan really is focused on getting everyday riders, not necessarily your Lycra crowd, but just everyday people comfortable and confident biking on the streets of Montgomery County. Down here in this little map, this is a zoomed in view of what Bike Monaco highlights as on-road priorities in our area. And if you look over to the right of the map, you'll see Haverford Avenue right inside Narver is identified. The highlighted blue route is actually Narberth Avenue, going all the way out to the Lower Marion Schools and to Bowman. And then just below Haverford on the south end, they're highlighting Winwood Avenue and Winwood Road as priorities. That just helps orient you a little bit. So in general, the goals, which I'll talk about a little bit next for Bike Monaco, but they have three main themes that the plan really focuses on. So it's finding that intersection between connecting communities, building more sustainable communities, and boosting the economy of all the municipalities that make up the county. So there are six main goals with Bike Monaco. And again, they really align with what Narver Cycling Club has built some of our advocacy around. So, they're looking to connect communities by supporting bicycling as a daily transportation option. They want to expand the opportunities so that everyone, for equity, so that everyone feels comfortable and safe getting on a bike and moving around for transportation. They highlight education and enforcement efforts just to build more awareness around the presence of bicyclists in our community. A fifth goal is they really wanted to highlight bicycling as, not only from a public health perspective, but an environmentally sustainable way to get around. And lastly, they talk a lot about how bicycling and bicycle infrastructure builds vibrancy in local economies and building a county-wide bicycling industry, bicycle tourism around that. Okay, so that's like looking a little regional. Now let's come in and look locally at Narberth. So Bike Narberth kind of feels like a lost scroll when we talk about it, but it was this little project that came out of, in 2006, Narberth Open Space Plan. And when we look at this now, it was just ahead of its time. I mean, in 2006, no one in the suburbs was really talking about bicycling beyond anything other than recreation. So to look at this old plan from 15 years ago and see that there were people in our community, leadership in our community, talking about bicycling on our streets, ditching the car and moving around, it's pretty exciting to see. Now, this plan did focus on sharrows, which now is seen as, a very outdated type of bicycle infrastructure. But at the root of the plan, the network that they envisioned is still very much relevant. As you'll see in these upcoming slides, it really highlights these priority routes and desire lines for bicycling in Narver. Okay, so let's flash forward to 2017, when the borough had a professional firm come in and do a parking study. So we're not going to dig too much into the details of the parking study, but one thing that we really wanted to highlight was that in the parking study, the Nelson Nygaard highlights that installation of bicycle facilities was one tool that Narberth had available, a really low cost, easy to implement tool to decrease the parking burden that a lot of people in our community perceive and experience. So if you look up at the map, again, you'll kind of see a same theme from the Bike Narberth plan, highlighting Narberth Avenue, Windsor Avenue, and Haverford as some priority routes to consider. Moving a little more recent to 2019, the Narver Comprehensive Plan. Again, it's a very big document, but there is a pretty healthy section in the comprehensive plan that highlights the desire and the goal for bicycle infrastructure in Narberth. This map that comes from the comprehensive plan, it really helps overlay what was seen in Bike Narberth, what's identified in Bike Monaco, and then just outside of Narberth's borders in Lower Merion, it just helps ties together the whole picture of what is, again, that same theme of priority routes, the ways that we can connect our communities and connect people on bikes to destinations. Again, Narberth Avenue is multicolor. It's noted on several plans. Windsor Avenue, Haverford Avenue, Sabine, similar themes. Flash ahead to 2020. Last year, the borough adopted the Climate Action Plan. And again, the Climate Action Plan does do a great job of highlighting the benefits of environmental benefits of investing in bicycle infrastructure in Narber. What I actually had skimmed this at some point and I missed this highlight, but it said that by just investing in bicycle infrastructure, Narberth could potentially reduce its total transportation emissions by 12%. So that's a really significant number for carbon savings for our community. And it just highlights, again, those very similar bike routes and working with the Lower Merion Township to make sure that what we're doing hyperlocal is, again, building those regional connections. So Narver Cycling Club, just talking a little bit about the unique way that we fit into this picture. So the Cycling Club, as I said, we've been around since around Earth Day on 2017. And we've grown in 4 years to representing about 500 households in Narberth and just beyond. And what our vision was for Narver Cycling Club was really to create a space that encouraged people of any age, any ability, any level, any bike, any clothes, just a really inclusive community focused on biking for transportation. Ditching the car, biking to Trader Joe's, ditching the car, biking to Get for coffee, biking to American Family for groceries. So what we have worked on, all these other plans talk about physical infrastructure, but an important aspect of infrastructure that doesn't really get the attention it deserves is what's called human or cultural infrastructure. And so what the Cycling Club has worked to build, in addition of complementing what we hope is future physical infrastructure, we've worked to build a human and cultural infrastructure around bicycle culture. So, pre-pandemic, we were really active with leading social rides. We gather downtown and do kind of a critical mass ride and end at ice cream. Or we dress in Halloween costumes and we bike around for Halloween. And those are just really fun, family-friendly, age-friendly rides that help teach on-road etiquette, help build comfort and confidence with, getting on a bike and moving around the community. And it's been really successful. The most rewarding aspect of, I think for Jean and I, we can both say this, with leading the Cycling Club, is when we run into someone downtown and they very excitedly share with us, like, oh my God, guess where I biked the other day? I biked to Le Petit Mitron and got my baguette instead of driving. They share those little victories that they've had in their own life. And it's really exciting to see it clicking for them, realizing like the bike's not just a recreational tool. Another thing that we do is we have provided pop-up valet parking at different events in the community. And again, it's just encouraging a mode shift, encouraging people and making it much more convenient to leave the car behind and, get on a bike. The Mainline Greenway, what I hinted at earlier, it's on the horizon. The cycling club has been working with Lower Merion Township primarily, and a broader alliance of groups and organizations to build this concept of the Mainline Greenway, which is really being seen as the next step of the transportation evolution in the suburbs. So the goal is that one day in the near future, you'll be able to hop off the Kenwood Trail, ride your bicycle from Bala Kenwood all the way out to Stoneleigh and Villanova and back, using really quiet neighborhood streets that are very bike friendly, not super car friendly, and just through some signage and pavement markings, creating this connected network that brings all the communities together and allows, college students to get from Villanova to Mom's Market, or, someone in Narver to get to downtown Ardmore. So again, it connects lots of parks, schools, universities, hospitals. Again, just trying to build, trying to create a mode shift and get more people out of cars. Okay, so I hinted at this earlier, a little bit about the progress, reflecting on our progress. So back when we presented in 2017, we really were starting from zero. There was nothing other than, the cycling club leading some rides. There wasn't any bicycle friendly infrastructure or facilities in place. So looking back on this 4 years later and keeping the same slide in mind that we showed 4 years ago, it was really cool to look back and realize of these 5 top guidelines, we've met 3 of them. And, the next natural step for us now is this 4th one, creating routes and wayfinding. So let's look at this in a little detail. Let's look at the progress. Okay, great. This is, really great progress. So AARP, one of their methods was for government leadership to embrace the public process and build support. So, just in 4 years, the cycling club has been invited to the table a lot to weigh in on road projects, the temporary bridge redesign. There have been lots of community workshops that have been run and community chats that have been hosted by the borough and the Civic Association, just to talk about how bicycles fit in, the benefits of biking. And then even flashing forward to the process around the Wheels on Windsor project, which I'll talk about in a minute. Another guideline that we met since we last talked was this AARP recommendation to provide adequate bicycle parking. So, back for the 2019 cycle of the Monaco 2040 grant, Narver wrote a grant, and it really was a shovel in the ground for bicycle infrastructure. So because of this grant that we were awarded by Montgomery County, we now have modern bike racks at the train station, at the library, around town. We've got the little meter hitch racks down on Main Street on Haverford and Windsor Avenue. And we have what's called a bicycle fix-it in Station Circle with a tire pump and a water bottle water filling station. Now, that's kind of been dampened by the pandemic. It got installed, and we were hoping to just do a big thing around it with the cycling club. But it's pretty exciting when I do go downtown. Just about every time I'm downtown, I look over and I see folks using the bike fix-it station. I see folks using the new racks at the train station. So it's really cool to see that bit of progress. Again, another guideline that we've now met, start with a pilot project. So last year, through assistance from DVRPC, we did the Wheels on Windsor 10-day pilot project. And it was on a 2-block stretch of Windsor Avenue. It was in the grand scheme of roadway projects, it was super low cost. I think I remember it being under $1,500. And it was a great, bottom up way for people in the community to come out and just try it, see what bike infrastructure looks like, give feedback, and just to help refine and figure out like what's the right fit for infrastructure in Narver. So again, another goal we've met. So let's talk about the current considerations. If there's one takeaway with COVID-19 in Narver, it's that our streets are not just for moving cars and parking cars. Our streets are a vital public space. And it's time to think about how we can maximize our existing layouts to really accommodate a variety of needs and uses. So, okay, again, the current takeaway for us really is just highlighting that our streets are a vital public space, and it's really time to think in a bit more in terms of equity and making sure that our streets meet the needs of everyone in our community. Focusing on complete streets and creative solutions that meet the demand for more active transportation, biking, walking, scooting, non-car types of transportation, decreasing the parking burden, the street wear and tear, promoting environmental stewardship, all those things. It's kind of like bikes do it all, right? Bikes fix it all. It's kind of a skewed bias there, but we really do think that. And then people first priority, just, when you think about the complete streets aspect, it's naturally a way of supporting what's called the 8 to 80 concept, making sure that, my Jean and I's 9-year-old daughters can safely and confidently and comfortably get to the library to get their library book, or make sure my mother-in-law, who's in her 70s, can safely, ride her adult trike downtown to American Family. So, if we can offer some suggestions for next steps, low-hanging fruit, these are the 4 highlights for us. So, and we're going to go into a bit detail in a minute, but one to start thinking about is budgeting Narberth's share of the Mainline Greenway. Another one for 2021, let's get some more pilot projects on the ground. That's really how we're going to figure out what the best fit is for permanent infrastructure. As you've seen in these previous slides, we have so many plans and documents. It's not like we need to now do a bike plan. We have so many plans out there already that tell us, what we need to do. So it's time to act on that. Another suggestion would be the League of American Bicyclists. They have this bicycle friendly community program that they run. And
Kimberly, are you there?
Yeah, I lost you too.
it's a little bulky. But again, it just is it's a natural next step that we should look at for some goal setting. And then just pursuing more grants. You know, the Monaco 2019 grant, what an amazing opportunity to get some initial infrastructure like in the ground and in use to support this growing bicycle culture. So if we had another suggestion would be, let's look ahead to 2022, applying for another Monaco 2040 grant that includes bicycle infrastructure. You know, the 2021 grant cycle reward was just announced, and they awarded over $2.5 million to 23 municipalities that are doing projects that meet the goals of Bike Monaco, Monaco 2040. So the Mainline Greenway, as promised, talking a little bit about Narber's share. This gives a little bit of a zoomed in view of the Greenway's current alignment through Narber. And the current alignment that you see on this map is because it connects to the regional amenities, you know, up into Penn Valley, you're connecting to General Wayne Park and up towards eventually towards the Kenwood Trail and schools. Over to the west, you're creating connections to Ardmore and Wynwood. You know, to the south, you're creating connections into the city. So talking specifically what that looks like in Narber. So we have what's called a phase 1 that is in the works right now. And on the south side of Narber, our share of the Greenway route is just over half of a mile. On the north side, it's about 1.6 miles. So with the Greenway, the focus really, because you're using such quiet streets, it's really relying on some wayfinding signage and these simple little pavement markings that Jean designed. So these two pictures are just a little mock-up to give you an idea of what the proposed pavement markings look like. So on Narber's narrow little streets, you would, what's being proposed is this pavement marking on the right that just provides a little bit of wayfinding in both directions. And on the left, when you get to intersections, again, there's wayfinding that just gives bicyclists, you know, comfort that they're still on the right track. So for this phase 1, there are about 57 pavement markings proposed in I
think we've lost you again, Kimberly.
route. It loops in
Kimberly, so
Windsor.
you're fading in and out a little. We were at 57 markings, and then you went out.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So 57 markings, which I'll talk about in a minute. But just going back to this map right here, what's not really shown is what's being talked about as a phase 2.
You're out again.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. One thing I forgot to mention about this.
Sorry, your audio went out again.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. One thing that I wanted to mention as far as budgeting. So Lower Merion Township has currently budgeted $10,000 for their portion of the phase 1 pavement markings. So it just and it's a much larger stretch of routing that is in Lower Merion Township. But again, that just gives you an idea of how low cost our share of the pavement markings potentially will be. Okay, so talking a little bit about these temporary pilots. So the Narwis Bridge redesign that happened about 2 years ago now. So when the bridge shut down, they initially had created access for pedestrians, but bicycles weren't really part of the equation. So we were able to work with the borough to make some recommendations on how to enhance the access for bicyclists and to improve safety for pedestrians. So one thing that came out of this was this Contraflow bike lane, which you'll see in the top picture. And this really has provided, at the time, it's no longer there now that the bridge is completely shut. But at that point, they were still allowing single lane car access into town. So this just reallocated the existing space to carve out a space for people on foot, people in cars, and people on bikes. The Contraflow lane allowed bikes and people on foot to travel both ways across the bridge. So one thing that we would like to see piloted is more Contraflow lanes that improve bike access on some of these other one-way streets in Narver. When we're out in the field doing traffic counts, we see it all the time. Bikes are biking the wrong way up Narver Avenue or up Windsor on the one-way. And that reveals the desire lines. That reveals that we need to think about making these one-way streets safe for bikes to legally move counterflow to traffic. And then at the bottom here, Wheels on Windsor, that was a bikeway, but it also did trial the idea of biking against the flow of traffic. So, I mean, we already know a lot of this from the Wheels on Windsor pilot, but just to reinforce it, just using lane narrowing for Wheels on Windsor, it carved out this bikeway project. I mean, I think for the 2-block stretch, we lost 4 on-street parking spots, but they were able to kind of shift them around and reallocate them in the area. The safety aspect of that project really just jumped. The car speeds reduced. So just through lane narrowing, I think we can look to other streets in our borough and think about how we can maximize the existing space to get more people on bikes, like where they're safely trying to go. So thinking about some next steps, potential locations for future pilots. Number 1, down on Haverford, that long stretch from Borough Hall to the tunnel. We feel it's so wide right now, and it's nice and ripe for an opportunity to trial a bicycle pilot along that stretch. Up at Sabine near the park, that's another high demand need for bike access, improving safe bike access. Downtown by the Narver Theater on Narver Avenue, folks coming from the south side or traveling to the south side are really desperately seeking through access. You have kids on the south side that go to St. Margaret's, and all they want to do is bike over the bridge and keep going 1.5 blocks to get to school. Right now, because of our one-way network, they have to get to the light by the pub, take a left, go up to Forest, assume it's open because of construction. Then when they get to Windsor, they climb a big hill. So again, just those desire lines, keeping that in mind. And then number 4 is just maybe trialing a different type of pilot on Windsor Avenue on the one-way. So we just mocked up a few ideas to start the conversation for those 4 locations. You know, this is an idea that we bounced around for the section of Haverford by the tunnel. To help orient you, the park would be on the right. We're looking towards the tunnel. So we envisioned this idea of possibly trialing a Contraflow bike lane to allow bicyclists to travel eastbound, and then bicyclists traveling with the flow of traffic. Again, up at 100 block of Sabine, on a nice day, there are so many bikes at Sabine, and I just wonder to myself how they're getting there, because there's currently no really safe way to get to Sabine Park. But the reality is people are going the wrong way on Sabine Avenue to get to Sabine Park, because they're, of all of the bad options, they feel like that is the least dangerous option. And it's not a safe option. You know, bikes are traveling illegally the wrong way up Sabine. Drivers aren't necessarily anticipating that there's a bike coming the wrong way. But with Sabine being a fairly wide street, you know, we think it would be worthwhile to explore this same concept that we just showed of maybe we carve out a contraflow lane along the curb at 201 Sabine and bump out that parking a little bit and create an opportunity for bikes to safely get to the entry driveway of Sabine Park. You know, another Contraflow idea that we wanted to highlight was that block of Narver Avenue at the theater, where we talk about, we see bikes, when we do bike counts, we see bikes going the wrong way all the time. So again, you know, it would be worth exploring if there's an opportunity to bump out some parking from the curb and create a space for bikes to safely bike the wrong way of counter to traffic flow to get to Windsor, where it then becomes a two-way street again. The 4th one, Windsor Avenue. You know, we trialed Wheels on Windsor last year, and I think the borough learned a lot from that experience. And DVRPC just gave such an invaluable insight into, you know, future opportunities for that section. But maybe the next step would be trialing, you know, a counterflow bike lane, and instead of having a two-way bikeway, letting bikes bike with the flow of traffic on that stretch. This is just a big picture overview of how it all ties together. So if Narver can commit to creating some hyper-local bike routes, it connects you to the whole regional picture. So you've got your Ardmore destinations, you've got safe routes to schools, bike to transit with the SEPTA station, bike to the Kenwood Trail. And so Jean created this map to just overlay all of those routes so you can really see where the patterns emerge for next step priorities. And lastly, I just wanted to end with this quote by Glennon Doyle that I just love. And I teach my daughters this all the time. But we can do hard things, right? You kind of have to laugh at it. But, you know, all of these resources and plans and projects, and it's like we know what the right thing is to do. We have so much to fall back on and pull from that tells us that the next natural step for Narver is to put some infrastructure in place. Does it always feel like the easiest thing to do? No. You know, are there bigger considerations around parking and redesigning of streets? Yes. But, you know, every shift counts. Every simple change makes a big impact. So if we can all just commit to like thinking big and then acting big, it's just going to have, you know, so many benefits, from environmental to health to wellness to neighborhood connectivity. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me get out of screen sharing.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. So I have a few questions based on what you were saying. So the Mainline Greenway, you said that Lower Merion Township already has allocated money for it, for the striping, not the striping, but you know, for the street wayfinding signs. So do you have a sense of when they're planning to actually do that project?
Yes, sorry, Samantha, I'm trying to send hosting back to you and it's not letting me. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get it real quick. Okay, I can't. I'll have to do it. Try to do it in a minute. So, like I said, Lower Merion has what we're referring to as a phase one. So the connection from Kenwood Trail to Haverford College campus is what is being seen as phase one, because beyond Haverford College out to Stoneleigh, there are some bigger pinch points that really are going to require some intersection physical improvements that are of a much larger scale and effort than what we have over on this eastern segment. So the plan, Lower Merion Township has now had their traffic safety unit and their public works department review the final draft, and they're really pushing to get a final approval in June on the Mainline Greenway plan from the commissioners. So the goal is by the end of the summer to have some pavement markings on the ground in phase one. And Lower Merion, now my disclaimer, I guess, is that the pandemic slowed down the progress of the Greenway, you know, so here we are now. But Lower Merion had budgeted $10,000 into this year's budget for the pavement markings. So they have $10,000 that that's ready to go to get pavement markings on the ground. And we have a pavement marking plan. So Narber's share of that was about 57 pavement markings that were shown, you know, in that mock-up. So hopefully, I'm not quite sure what the pricing for Narberth would be. I'll have to look and see if I can get a better idea of that. But Lower Merion's share is much, much more significant than ours, obviously. So ours is about 2 miles total.
To clarify, that money is to go towards just pavement markings, and then after that, they would add the signage, which would go on the side of the streets.
Was there anybody from, I mean, I realize you've been involved in the process. Was anybody like in the official borough government involved in that planning at all? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
I mean, at some point we had looped in the previous borough staff into the conversation, but no one from this current has been involved in the conversation. I mean, naturally we've had, you know, at our Mainline Greenway events, we've had Rob there, we've had you there, we've had several other council members attend, come to listen and learn more about the project. So, but beyond that, in any official capacity, the cycling club has kind of taken the lead on sitting at the table and helping guide, you know, our share of the effort.
I mean, if they're going to try to do this in June or by the end of the summer, I mean, I'm expecting they're going to have like a to-do about it. It would be slightly embarrassing if Narwis has nothing there, but we haven't really planned for this, so I don't.
Yeah. I mean,
all it is to match their timeline.
yeah, I mean, some of you know Chris Lessling pretty well over at the township. He is all about making a to-do about things and making it kind of fun and party atmosphere. So what he envisions really is a community building type of event where we have a build day, basically, where the community is invited to come out and volunteer and help put paint on the ground. So that's a way of, in his mind, of building ownership over the Greenway, you know, building some excitement, a little rah-rah cheerleading event, getting people familiar, connecting with leaders, learning more about it. So yeah, he's in our Greenway meetings, we meet every 2 weeks. We've been talking about ways to have kind of like a community build day around the Greenway, around that initial phase of paint on the ground.
Kimberly, is that is there like an email list or somehow like I can get involved in those meetings? Because it sounds like I need to have a chat with folks at the township to kind of, like Fred mentioned, maybe see about some coordination there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll link you in with Jillian Dirks and Chris Lesswing from the Building and Planning Department.
I just wanted to ask, Jean, is your logo going to be used in Lower Merion? It'll be a consistent logo? The MLG?
Yes, the Mainline Greenway logo, that's going to be used throughout the entire, the Mainline Greenway route that goes from Bella Kenwood up to Stoneleigh.
Okay, that's terrific. That'll be, you know, linked that way.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could ask if you could share a copy of your presentation. Would you mind emailing it to me? I want to make sure that I keep it somewhere. It was so comprehensive and thorough. I just thank you so much. I just as a general, I just want a quick expression of appreciation for everything that the cycling club has done for 5 years. I mean, you have a seat at the table because for 5 years you've consistently been prepared, right? Thorough. You kind of offered the highest level vision, but also just sort of drilling down into the nuts and bolts of how to get things done. And, you know, not only you've sort of modeled a cycling culture in the community, but you've done it like with relentless positivity. So you've just really been a tremendous resource, and really it's a model and a template for how to advocate for really anything in the community. You've done it. I just want to appreciate you for a minute. How great you guys have been. And then speaking of nuts and bolts, one quick question. This is so low level, but I noticed last Tuesday that the racks outside of Borough Hall were bolted into just bricks. Have you guys noticed that? And so if you lean on them, the bike racks, have you noticed that? Yeah. I mean, is anybody looking into that? Because it's somewhat dangerous. Okay. So you've noticed. They kind of come up, if you lean against them, they just.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, as long as somebody's flagged, we need to flag it for our public works department to take care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had put it on Public Works radar a few months back because I had noticed that the racks at the basketball courts were gone. So I had asked, just for an update, curiosity, what the status was with those racks, because they were kind of back to the old school rack that's not at all inclusive of anything other than a standard bike. And we never heard back an update about those things. But yeah, we do, naturally there's some maintenance and upkeep involved in keeping these things functional. So perhaps there needs to be a rail mount or something like that added to the racks at Borough Hall for applying it to brick. And Darrow should be able to point us in the right direction to make sure we have the right hardware for the brick mounted racks.
Let me jump in for a second, because Rob said he has to go. So I think we have a couple. So you had several different suggestions. One of these is to my eye more immediate, which is the Mainline Greenway. I didn't realize how far along it was. So it sounds like Samantha's going to jump in and try to get involved with the planning. I think the sense of the committee is that we should fund the paint, right? and try to see if we can move on. See if we can join in the opening of this of phase 1. Is that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the main reasons why we wanted to go for that 2040 grant was so that this regional effort wouldn't leave us behind. We want to be part of it because they recognize it's really good for the community and really good for our downtown and our businesses as well.
All right.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so, thanks, Rob. If you need to jump off, you can go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. And just quick thanks also to Kimberly and Jean, because even the maps that you're showing in the slides synthesize so many years of work, and it makes it easier for us as a council. So thank you all. I'm sorry I have to leave.
Rob. And Michelle and Kimberly, to the like infrastructure concerns that you brought up, if you want to send that sort of stuff to me, and then that way I can kind of coordinate with Public Works to make sure it gets taken care of, and that way it doesn't like go out, into a void somewhere or anything like that. You're certainly welcome to talk to me about all that.
All right, and then we had the.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, were you? Are you all set, Michelle? Can I keep talking, or you have more you want to say right now?
No, before we get to public comment, there's 2 things I thought of that from the agenda, but not about the NCC's presentation.
All right. So the other aspect is the proposed pop-up bike lanes, or not pop-up even, but the proposed let's say
Pilots.
bike pilots. So I think the step there is going to be to hand those to our traffic engineer for a quick look over and see what they say about it. I mean, I think they would address a need. I mean, I think these are places where you're seeing bikes going the wrong way. So clearly, I mean, we've all seen bikes going the wrong way on a lot of these. So I think they're clearly kind of useful spots. The question is going to be, how would implementation be? And I think it'd be, if we didn't have a repair project going on in Haverford, that would be a very easy sort of place to put a lane, because there's not a lot going on there. But something like around North Narver, it's a much busier, much more complicated setup, especially with restaurants in the streets. So I think maybe we should look into the logistics a little more with borough staff or the traffic engineer, and then see if we can pick 1 or 2 of those that look promising to possibly consider for the fall. Does that seem like a reasonable timeline? Okay. Sound good? All right. Michelle, Samantha, any other questions for?
Okay, really quickly. No, not for Kimberly or Jean.
Okay, for Kimberly. Jean, all right.
No.
Thank you. That was great. I love the presentation, and those. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about the Mainline Greenway being so far along. So.
Yeah, we'll be sure to send that out to everyone, the presentation, and answer any questions. We're happy to answer any follow-up questions. Just reach out. Thanks.
I guess one last logistical question I have. So with the borough budget for this year, did Borough Council already allocate money for a project like this, or will we need to at a future Borough Council meeting have council approve up to so many dollars for the project, for the striping for the Mainline Greenway?
Give me a minute to look at that. I don't know. I mean, it's possible we have something in there for bicycle infrastructure that could be,
yeah,
put towards.
I'll take a look. I'll take a look at the budget this week, and if we need to put it on the agenda for council, then we can do that and let council know that infrastructure talked about it and recommends it.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, Michelle, you had some other points you wanted to make.
Oh, so I forgot to mention the parking study task force is going to present in July. Matt Popek and the task force will present at our July meeting. Just FYI. So that's when we're going to be bringing those parking study recommendations to council to take it from there. And then the other thing is, I just wondered, are we going to, maybe is Parks and Recreation going to come possibly to our next meeting? Because I know we'd had, okay. So we'll
I had a discussion with them, and we decided it would be too much with this meeting. Has it?
It would have been.
So they're gonna
So
come
then the
next,
only thing
they
I
have a
wonder with-
number of different issues, so they'll probably take up much of the next meeting.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. With respect to the signs that we had talked about getting done for the parks for the summer, I think that they were kind of they were needing for us to review the park ordinances and regulations first. And I wondered, is that something that's going to be an action item at our next meeting? Do we know if John has got, I don't want to delay them by not moving the groundwork on the park regulations forward. I don't know if you know anything or if you've touched base with John.
I have to, well, they just had their meeting Thursday, and this was something on their agenda.
Okay.
They had made some recommendations earlier about rules like a couple of years ago. So I asked them, well, are those still your recommendations? So I know they were going to discuss that. I have to talk to them and get more information, because they could, because I told them that, not to come to this meeting. So I'll talk to them, and I'll let you know where we stand.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's it.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for, so there we go. So we got June and July meetings pretty much locked up with Parks and Recreation and then Parking Study Task Force.
Parking Study Task Force is going to present a meeting of council, not infrastructure. I'm sorry, I was not clear.
No,
They're at our combined meeting in July, unless you want to do a infrastructure presentation first.
I'm not going to override your whatever you decided is fine. I don't have a strong opinion here.
That's what Matt Popek was planning to come to the combined workshop business meeting in July.
All right.
Council. Okay.
And then I'm aware, since Carol Maria is here, that we're still working on a traffic policy for. I have yet to have a conversation with the traffic engineer, which is starting to become frustrating to me. So let's move on to public comment. Carol Marie.
Yes, I would like to speak, and I'm going to greet everybody from the Philadelphia Zoo. Today I took my grandsons to the Philadelphia Zoo. We had a lovely time there while I listened to the meeting. But I would like to again say to Fred, yes, as Kim had said, the driving on Sabine Avenue by the park is a hot mess. And we've been discussing this with this council for the past 7 years, talking about the drivers that drive one way. We'll put Samantha the reason, and welcome to the borough. One reason we feel that people drive the wrong way is the mid-span one-way signs are missing. They've been missing for about 7 years. And we've talked to the council, we've talked to public safety, we've talked to traffic, we've talked to the police, and cannot seem to get a definite on why we cannot get our one-way signs put back up. We had a near miss about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. A car driving the wrong way, a kid crossing the street, could have been tragic. And the bikers are constantly, I agree, a bike lane would not be a bad idea on Sabine Avenue by the park because it is such a used park. And something needs to be done about the one-way traffic between the bikes and the cars. Now that the summer season is here, we really need to get that taken care of. And I also would like to, on behalf of Friends of Sabine Park, as the Bike Coalition is a community grassroots program, so is Sabine Park. Friends of Sabine Park has been working with Sabine Park, which was a sorely neglected park, and we neighbors would be picking up, watching alleged drug deals happening there, and we decided enough was enough and have taken over the park and taken over the beautification of the park. And we would like to meet with you, Samantha, and talk to you about this park and talk to you about our vision for the park and talk about the importance of open space. We're working with We Conserve PA to keep any development off the 201 Sabine property because it is such a valuable asset to have open space in our borough, especially with the boom of the 56 apartments that are at Elm, the apartments that are going to be going on top of Rickland's Cadence, and the proposed, 50 apartments going on Haverford Avenue on top of the stores. So I would like to extend love to meet with you and discuss open space vision for the park and our concerns for the one way. And Parks and Rec had planned on coming today, but Fred canceled. I know they wanted to talk about if there was going to be an abridged summer program for the kids and what was going on with the parks as far as Parks and Rec. And Fred, unfortunately, Mary Kay could not come back on such short notice. So that's something to talk about, what the future of the summer at the parks are going to be. And since I'm not on video, I will say, welcome, Samantha. I look forward to meeting with you and getting to know you.
Yeah, same here, Carol Marie. I definitely would welcome the opportunity for us to have a chance to, to meet and chat a little bit more about some of your concerns. And, I'm certainly a resource here now that, now I'm officially working here for Narver, to, as Freddie mentioned, some challenges getting a hold of the traffic engineer. That's something I'm certainly willing, to get involved in as borough manager and maybe take the lead on trying to get a hold of the traffic engineer to figure out what the procedure should be for dealing with signs in general, not just Save-On Avenue.
Thank you. Samantha, it's been kicked down the road for 7 years, and our frustration level is so high because we'll talk about it next month. Oh, we can't get hold of traffic gears. We'll talk about it next month. It's really not that difficult of a project putting signs back where they used to be. And yes, we definitely welcome talk to you about our open space plans and about the importance of open space and to keep any development. Another proposal was requested by Michelle Panopoulos to have a financial study done on 201 Sabine building. And I would like to talk with you about what the neighbors have to say. The presentations, Aaron did a presentation last December after a very quickly thrown together survey that was put out about a couple of weeks before Christmas, which not everybody knew about. But the overwhelming replies from the neighborhood is leave the park a park, leave the community, leave what is at 201 Sabine there. But that's a conversation.
Maybe we can talk about. Yeah, maybe we can talk about all that outside of infrastructure. But in regards to the sign, I want to make sure I am clear that I'm not necessarily saying yes or no to it, because I don't know if I really have the power to do that. But what I do want to work with you on is, and work with the engineer on, is not just for Sabine Avenue, but anytime someone has a concern about signage in the borough, making sure that we have a consistent process for whether we say yes or no to it. So that way that you're fairly treated, and anyone else who has a sign concern in the borough is fairly treated on it. So that is what I am going to promise you we will get done. So that way, again, your concern isn't just going off into the ether. There will be a process in place. That way you can get a definitive answer and get a definitive solution to what you're dealing with.
And that's all. Thank you. That's all we've been asking for the past 7 years. And yes, you tell me when you'd like to meet, and I will be most happy to have Friends of Sabine Park together to meet with you.
Thanks. Mr. Geiger, do you have a comment?
Yes, I just have a quick question. I don't think is there a specific date that we have identified for completing the form to complete commissioning of those EV parking chargers, EV chargers?
Is there a date? So they're in place right now. I think the borough needs to understand the payment system and how the. I don't think there's a specific date. They're. I mean.
What is necessary to complete it, and who is the person that I should bug about that?
With all due respect, if it's okay with you, I think I'm the person you should probably bug about it. And just because I'm so new here, Chris, I said I can't really. Thank you. Today's my second day working officially for the borough, so I can't speak with great detail on the project, but I definitely want to find out where it's at, and as Fred mentioned, get a handle on what needs to be done to get them up and running. And once I have a better handle on that, I can certainly let you and this committee know what needs to be done and when it will be done.
the main issue is that the borough employees who are closely involved with the process are no longer working with the borough. So once, as Samantha said, she'll get it figured out.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it for public comment. So thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, everyone have a good afternoon.
Bye, everyone.